Hi there,
Hello
Elena.
again, Tom.
So we're going to start with Libya, and that's giving some foreign journalists the chance to start, looking through what's been left behind by Gaddafi's regime.
Yes, once again, outside of France, it's the only story on the front pages. The Independent has gone for terror in Tripoli as loyalists fight to the death. The Wall Street Journal is focusing on that bounty, going for Libyan rebels set bounty on Gaddafi. And the Times has gone for city of hope and fear. But for analysis, I'd like to start with The Guardian, which unfortunately hasn't arrived in its physical form this morning. But hopefully we can have a look at its front page, which is headlined "Inside the Shattered Heart of Gaddafi's Government." Now, their correspondent has been picking around in Gaddafi's cabinet ministers' deserted offices. He says they fled so quickly, they're like the Mary Celeste. There's half-empty coffee cups lying around and piles of documents. And the correspondent has had a chance to get a look through some of that. Some of it's been looted and partially burnt by Gaddafi troops, leaving him to wonder that if the power vacuum lasts for much longer in Tripoli, lots of evidence could be destroyed by looting and rioters. But he has found some things that could be a little bit embarrassing for some Western governments who are now doing their absolute best to show how they're standing with the anti-Gaddafi forces. He found in some ministers' offices evidence showing that British ministers were wined and dined in Libya as recently as last year. And the paper has also come up with a WikiLeaks cable showing that John McCain, the former US presidential candidate, as recently as 2009 was offering Gaddafi help to get hold of weapons. So I think as the new government takes shape, there'll probably be a lot more revelations like this coming out, the paper says, which could be embarrassing for many politicians in the West.
All right. Now, the international community talking very much about how they don't want to get too involved in the formation of Libya's new government. They're going to leave that to the Libyan people. And NATO saying definitely no soldiers on the ground. But the Daily Beast has a story now on the West needing to put more pressure on the new regime in some form. What's this?
This is on the question of Gaddafi. As the anti-Gaddafi groups have really kind of changed their tune on what to do about Gaddafi recently. They've announced that bounty for him if captured dead or alive, whereas just yesterday they were saying the rebels shouldn't carry out revenge attacks. Now, the Daily Beast is saying this is a worrying change of tone because it's hugely important that he be taken alive and tried. Why? One might say that if the Libyans would want to have him executed, then that should be allowed. But the Daily Beast is saying that the victims of families of people who were killed by Gaddafi, the families of victims rather, the families of the Lockerbie bombing victims and so on, deserve to see a full trial and find out exactly what did happen under Gaddafi. And if he's tried in Libya, that will never happen because the Libyan judiciary was so tightly controlled by him that it will all have to be disbanded and rebuilt again from the bottom up. So it says the Libyan rebels should avoid falling into the trap of carrying out revenge attacks on Gaddafi or his family. They want to see him taken alive and taken to the ICC in The Hague.
All right. Now, the NATO-backed victory in Libya has turned out pretty well for various Western leaders. It's done French President Nicolas Sarkozy's international standing and perhaps the opinion polls no end of good for him, and Obama too, by the looks of things.
Yeah, there's a strong piece still in the Daily Beast by Michael Tomasky who says this proves that Obama is a truly great foreign policy president. Now, his domestic headlines haven't been terribly good recently, so there's not been too much praise for him in the press. But Tomasky says that Obama has made all the right calls on the Arab Spring. He was right to stand back a little when the intervention started in Libya, so it didn't look like America was trying to take control like it did in Iraq. He was right to perhaps err on the side of caution over the other Arab Spring countries, proving that America now is going to stand back and allow democracy to develop in other countries rather than imposing it from outside.
Okay, another story that we've been following here, the resignation of Steve Jobs from Apple. How's that been covered in the press?
Well, Twitter has been flooded with people saying the company will never be the same again, that they might stop buying Apple products. But let's look at the Huffington Post, which is a bit more optimistic than some outlets, saying Apple is more than one man and he may well still continue to have a say in product design. But they talked to the screenwriter Michael Setzman, who just shows just how loyal many tech fans are to Jobs' products. He says Steve Jobs didn't merely create technology, he created the way we interacted with it and changed the way we lived. So it might seem over the top for something to say about a technology CEO, but it's quite typical of what's being said on the internet about Jobs today.
Yeah, amazing what he's done for Apple. Thank you very much indeed, Elena Casas. Let's get a check of our top stories now. The